Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Demai, Perek Zayin, Mishnah Het. This is the last Mishnah of the Masechet, so congratulations for all of you that made it this far. This Mishnah will speak about a jug of wine that got mixed in with some other jugs of wine and how we are to treat this, right? If one of them was Ma'aser and it got mixed in with some others, he doesn't remember which one it is. He knows maybe close to the whereabouts of where it is. That's what we're going to speak about. מי שהיו לו 10 שורות של 10 כדיין ואמר שורה חיצונה אחת מעשר ואינו יודע איזו היא, נוטל שתי חביות לוחסן, חצי שורה חיצונה אחת מעשר ואינו יודע איזו היא, נוטל 4 חביות מ4 זוויות, שורה אחת מעשר ואינו יודע איזו היא, נוטל שורה אחת לוחסן, חצי שורה אחת מעשר ואינו יודע איזו היא, נוטל 2 שורות לוחסן, חבית אחת מעשר ואינו יודע איזו היא, נוטל מכל חבית וחבית. So Rambam actually has an interesting pirush here. He goes ahead and draws it out for you. If you look right on top of me, actually stuck this little diagram above because he has this diagram in his book, and it makes it easier to explain the Mishnah. So if someone had 10 rows, and each row had 10 jugs of wine, so you have a 10 by 10, you have 100 jugs of wine. And you see the layout, now it's 10 by 10. Now he says, from the outer row, one barrel, one jug will be maaser. And he knows which one. Let's say he pointed to the top row and he said, one of these are going to be maaser. And afterwards, he doesn't remember which row it was. Was it the top? Was it the bottom, the right, the left? He doesn't remember which row he set aside one of those barrels to be maaser. So now what does he do? So the Mishnah says he takes 2 barrels, one on each diagonal. So if you take the corner, the top left and the top right, right along the hypotenuse, right? If we're going to split the square into 2 triangles, right? So right along that diagonal, that hypotenuse. So if he takes the corner, the top left and the bottom right, if he takes both those barrels, he's going to cover both sides, right? He's going to cover the top. If he takes the top left, he's going to cover the top row and the left row. And if he takes the bottom right, he's going to cover the right row and the bottom row. So he's covering all rows. So he takes 2 of these barrels. Now Rambam over here says he takes both of these barrels and he pours them into one. Right? He doesn't need to separate 2 misafek. Other mefarshim do say that. The Rosh says that. The Rash says that. Right? But Rambam says that no, you take both these barrels that you took, and you now pour them into one single barrel. Now, this one barrel definitely has some of the maaser that you originally separated, 100%, right? Because now you covered your bases. Now, let's say he says half a row, right? Meaning he separated one barrel from this half of the row. Okay, so now if you separate half a row, we want to cover all the bases. So if you pull from each of the corners, all 4 corners, now you're going to cover every outer half row, right? So that's what he does. And again, he pours it into one barrel. Now let's say he says, shura achat maaser, right? A barrel from one row. He doesn't specify outer row, any row. It could be any of these 10 rows going, going horizontally, going vertically, it could be anything. So what does he do? He takes one row on a diagonal, right? So he takes the entire line going from Aleph to Bet, right? The top left to the bottom right. He takes that entire, right, the entire diagonal, right? Going, which way is it going? Right? Just going all the way up to the top corner. And, right, so let's just point on top here. Right, so he's saying, I lost it. But he's saying all the way from there, and he's going all the way down to this side of the corner. So he takes that whole row. Now, if he takes that whole row, he's covering at least a portion of every single row because he took that whole hypotenuse, he took that whole diagonal line. And he'll take, again, from all these 10 barrels, he'll take 1/10 of each one, pour it into one, and now he has one barrel that he definitely has from his original maaser. And let's say he said, Chatzi shura achat maaser, a half a row, and he doesn't remember which half a row. So now he'll take both diagonals. right? Going from, from left to right and going from right to left. And if he does that, he's taking now 20 barrels, he'll pour it all into one, and this one barrel will definitely have all of the maaser, a portion from the original maaser that he separated. Right, so that's how Rambam explains this Mishnah. He explains it that you are condensing, you're combining from these barrels, right? You're not separating misafek, but you're actually covering your bases. And by the end, you're still separating one barrel of wine total, but it'll be, it'll be compiled, comprised from many other different barrels. Congratulations, Hazak Baruch, Hadrar Alach. Next Masechet we're going to move on to is Masechet Kilaim.